trying to get an airstrike over on that opposite side. Copy.
The KWA Green Gas USP, a reliable secondary service weapon. Always trusty whenever you need it the most. The KWA USP Gas Blowback is designed off of a currently manufactured service weapon. The Airsoft model here by KWA, distributed by Elite Force, is going to be a metal slide assembly paired with a polymer lower receiver. Just like with the real HK pistols, it does have a full blowback operating system. We do have a very enlarged and elongated slide release, making it easier for people that have a little bit smaller of a grip. The safety is going to be a thumb safety, again enlarged and slightly extended for the use of hitting upwards in order to go into a safe fire mode, which means if you pull the trigger, nothing's going to happen. Now, in the case, just like with the real USP, if you have your hammer backwards, what do you think would happen if you just let that hammer forward? It's going to shoot off. So if you don't want that to happen, you can take your safety mechanism, you can slide it all the way downward, and it's going to what is called decock that hammer, which is going to let it ride forward safely and smoothly without engaging the system. Demonstrated like so. No shot, safe. The magazine release, as demonstrated here, is going to be an ambidextrous design. It is significantly smaller, and thus the chances of accidentally hitting it with your thumb or your finger is significantly lessened. However, you do need, in my case specifically, when I am shooting, I do need to transition the pistol into a more 90-degree position in order to hit that magazine release with my thumb. The trigger is going to be a little bit more traditional as well. It is going to be metal and construction. The trigger guard is very much enlarged for all the gloved fingers or larger, meatier paws. And the initial shot is significantly longer and harder. However, because it is going to be semi-automatic, when that slide operates backwards, the re-engagement of the trigger is significantly shortened. You don't need to ride it all the way back forward, and the weight of that trigger is significantly lessened. Let me show you. So let's say, for example, you want to fire your KWA USP. Now, you will need to get that hammer backwards. You could initially start the hammer back here, or with the magazine out, you can still rack it backwards. You don't necessarily need to have the magazine inside of there. Of course, if you do want to utilize the decocker system in order to make sure that it is in a safe carry method, that hammer partially forward, that trigger all the way forward, it's going to look like so. Now, if I am going to start to shoot when I am in fire mode, I'm going to start to pull that trigger like so. Notice how the hammer is moving backwards with the pull of the trigger, very long, very heavy, until there's the release. Now I want to start firing again. Hammer is already backwards, and the trigger does not need to go very far forward. I'm going only a couple millimeters. There it caught. Very soft shooting. And once you figure out where that line is, you can essentially ride the line, and you can get those fast, snappy shots. In my case, I do have a little bit of an issue with my thumbs in particular. I have weird thumbs. Is sometimes I will engage that safety mechanism. Once I'm on the pistol like so, my thumb a lot of times gets caught by my support hand here, and that will ride the safety up. So if I wanted to shoot, I wouldn't be able to shoot. So I do have a little bit more natural position of riding my thumb in the case of the USP, because I don't want to decock the hammer, directly over and pressing into the frame of the USP like so. Just like that. Now, I didn't shoot because I didn't have the hammer assembly engaged. Some of the more nicer features of the current production of KWA USP is the fact that the spring guide rod is going to be now metal in construction. So let's say, for example, you wanted to disassemble your USP for any type of cleaning or maintenance. What you'll do, rack the slide back, and on the other side of the frame here, press inwards on that slide release. As you slowly release the slide forward, it is going to reach a point where the pressure of your finger is going to release the slide thing out. And then you should be able to get everything back apart like so. So we will notice that, this is going to be a thinner slide assembly compared to some other more modern pistol productions. But we do have a dual spring guide rod, which is going to be much nicer, much softer, and more efficient as far as the gas system goes. Obviously a metal hammer assembly and trigger assembly, and then a metal chassis which is built into the polymer frame. So very easy access to get to those internal parts and components in order to clean, maintain them with 100% silicone oil. Then reassembly is as simple as reassembly. Get the slide back onto the track, rack it all the way back forward. You'll notice that there is a small cut onto the slide itself. Line the cut on top of the hole here for your slide release. Install that slide release into the slot. Make sure you have a function check of racking the slide back, locking it forward, and racking it forward. I said that a little backwards, but you get the idea. And then you should be all good to go back to the races. The KWA USP actually has an extremely convenient reloading system. Even though it is designed to be a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more enclosed double stack, the follower actually has a locking mechanism on the base of the magazine itself. So if you have a speed loader handy, you can speed load the BBs into that enclosed follower. It is not nearly as wide as some of the more modernly manufactured pistols, but it still gives you a high round capacity. I did miss one right there. Do make sure to hit that button right there in order to relieve the spring pressure. And it applies pressure to the top of the BB, which means you slide that in, rack, and get back to shooting. As far as velocity goes, this is going to be shooting around 300 feet per second at a max around 310 when we tested it out today. Overall, this is very similar compared to the older production of USP. To my knowledge, there's not going to be a whole lot of things that have changed internally. They have made some newer changes as far as that spring guide rod, and I'm hoping, I can't break it open to confirm, with that nozzle system. So overall, it performs very well, it shoots very well, and even though it would be a little bit lower compared to what most airsoft hobbyists would consider to be like a faster velocity, it still performs very, very, very well. Compared to some other pistols that are shooting at a higher velocity, this outshoots them. So keep in mind that speed of the projectile does not mean accuracy of the projectile. Overall, I think this is a very reliable system. I think it shoots extremely well. So given the performance that I have seen today, given that it is a newer generation of USP and I am familiar with the older generation, it is a newer system, very efficient, shoots very well. I think it's gonna do you guys very well. Overall, this has been a very reliable system. I would totally 100% use it as a trustworthy backup secondary system. There may be a little bit of gripes and groans about the fact that it doesn't have a whole lot of aftermarket parts compatibility, but for all of my secondaries, I don't need them to accept aftermarket stuff. I just need them to shoot straight and be extremely reliable, and this fits that bill. And for that reason, I would suggest one of the KWA Elite Force HK USPs. Available at your Airsoft headquarters. The KWA USP actually has an extremely convenient reloading system. Even though it is designed to be a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more enclosed double stack, the follower actually has a locking mechanism on the base of the magazine itself. So if you have a speed loader handy, you can speed load the BBs